All right, fifth graders. Well, we are continuing along here in chapter 10, and this is going to look very similar to what we were doing in the previous lesson, 10.1. So we get into 10.2. We have divide, simplest form. And once again, we're going to be taking these division problems and thinking of them in terms of fractions, because as you've heard me say before, a fraction is just a fancy way of writing a division problem. So we're going to have 10 divided by 5, and we're going to think about that as 10 over 5. All right, now, the process I want you to go through today is, first off, while we have a fraction, we want to put that fraction in simplest form. So I'm thinking about 10 and 5. I know they can both be divided by 5, so I'm going to kind of divide by 5 equals, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. 5 divided by 5 is 1. I end up with 2 over 1. And I know that 1 can go into 2 times, and there's none left over. So 2 over 1 is just 2. Now, you can also think of it as 10 over 5. 5 can go into 10 twice, none left over. And a lot of you already probably realized here we had at the beginning 10 divided by 2, or 10 divided by 5, that's just 2. Now these other ones, they're not going to work out evenly, but I kind of wanted to go through the process there once. So here we have 14 divided by 3. Well, we're going to think of 14 divided by 3 as 14 over 3. Okay, sorry about the little glare there. Now, I'm going to think of 14 over 3. There's no number besides 1 that can go into both 14 and 3. So that fraction is actually in simplest form. However, you are going to need to put your answer as a mixed number, which means you're going to have to go through the process of this division problem. Now, I know, thinking about 3 going into 14, if you need to show some scratch work and go ahead and put something like that, go ahead and do that. So 3 can go into 14 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. 14 minus 12 is 2. So I end up with 2 left over, 4 remainder 2. The idea being that 3 can go into 14 4 times. If I take 3 into 14 4 times, there will be 2 left over. My denominator here is 3. So my denominator there is 3. I end up with 4 2/3. Now, if we do this one, 15 divided by 2. Well, 15 divided by 2, I'm going to think of this as 15 over 2. There's no number besides 1 that can go into both 15 and 2. A lot of numbers can go into 15, like 3 and 5, but the only one that can go into both is 1. So that's going to be in simplest form. So I'm going to be thinking again, 15 being divided by 2. Now a lot of these you can probably do mental math. Like this one, I know that 2 can go into 15 7 times. I know that 2 times 7 is 14. So there's just 1 left over if I take 2 into 15 7 times. So 1 is my numerator. 2 is my denominator. I end up with 7.5. All right? Let's look at this next one. 35 divided by 20. Well, I'm going to think about that as a fraction. I'm going to think about that as 35 over 20. Now, if I'm looking at this ends in a 0, this ends in a 5, so I know they're both divisible by 5. 35 divided by 5. I'm going to think about divided by 5 equals 35 divided by 5 is 7. 20 divided by 5 is 4. There's no number besides 1 that can go into both 7 and 4, so I know that that is in simplest form. 4 can go into 7 one time. If I take 4 into 7 one time, I know that there are 3 left over. My denominator here is 4, so my denominator here is going to be 4. And since this was in simplest form, I know that one is in simplest form. I end up with 1 3/4. Last one we're looking at, 71 divided by 8. Well, once again, I'm going to think about it as a fraction. 71 over 8. All right, and I'm going to think, okay, thinking about my 8 times tables, just putting in another plug for knowing your times tables really, really well. 8 can go into 71 8 times. If I take 8 into 71 8 times, I know that 8 times 8 is 64. So if I was thinking about it as 8 going into 71, I'd think 8. 8 times 8 is 64. 71 minus 64, I know that would end up being 7. Borrow from the 7, make it a 6, make the 1 11. 11 minus 4 is 7. 6 minus 6 is 0. I end up with 7 left over, which is okay when I'm dividing by 8. So 7 would be my numerator, and my denominator 8 would stay 8. No number besides 1 can go into both 71 and 8. So I know this is in simplest form, which means I know that this is in simplest form. All right, so it's essentially the same thing. It's just now you're going to be turning things into mixed numbers instead of just fractions like we did in 10.1. All right, talk to you later, 5th graders. Bye.